Absolutely. Okay, so it's 3 o'clock. I want to be respectful of Zach's time. So we're going to give him some time to talk, and then afterwards we'll meet as a club and kind of go over some things. We've got like 8 out of the 10 going on the Indianapolis trip that I want to talk to you guys about. But before that, I want to go ahead and let Zach start. If I mispronounce your name, Zach, please let me know. But
Yep.
Hanood?
Hanood.
Hanood, sorry. From Learfield IMG. Some of you have had in class that talked to you about Learfield IMG. We've had some alums who have worked there and are still working there. We got Riley down in Tennessee. And Learfield IMG, it's an interesting company. Zach will talk a little bit more about it, but a lot of D1 programs, instead of having an internal ticket sales operation or sponsorship sales, they're starting to outsource it to some companies like Learfield IMG. And I saw you guys just signed the 11 as well. Is that right? The Indy 11?
Correct. Yeah, we're selling tickets and working with their ticket operations for the Indy 11 now here in Indianapolis.
Awesome. So they're starting to get into pro sports. So this is a really good industry. We talk to a lot of people in sales, but a lot of them are just kind of team focused. This is a little bit of a different company. They've got a really neat program, especially for some of you seniors that are looking to graduate, looking for jobs. And Zach will probably talk more about that. But we've had some alums go in there and kind of work their way up, and now they've kind of got to choose where they go. So I'll let Zach take it away, and he'll talk about some of his experiences and his background. We'll talk about Learfield IMG, and then we'll open it up for questions. So Zach, I'll let you have the floor here.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it there. Thanks again to everyone for letting me have, your guys' time here today and step in your guys' meeting to kind of share some of what I do and also where I've come from in terms of, how I got my start in sports. So just a little bit about me. Like you said, my name's Zach. My last name's Hanood. I'm the general manager of our ticket sales operations here at the National Sales Center here in Indianapolis. I've been here since January of 2016. At that point, I was promoted within the company to run our ticket sales operations here. With what we do here at the center, it is a little bit different. We are a little bit unique compared to in the company. Usually our normal traditional models are actually integrated with universities. So we have our own general manager, we have our own sales teams and everything that integrate with, the development arms, the ticket operations, marketing and everything. And they're the outbound ticket sales force for that university. Us here at the sales center, I oversee our partnerships here that we have with the NCAA. We're actually headquartered here with the NCAA. We also partner with the Big Ten Conference, and we also partner with now the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame to sell. There's a couple of showcases and classics for men's basketball tournaments that we're actually helping to sell at some of the pro arenas across the United States here. So on a large scale, I oversee and maintain the partnerships and kind of do the ins and outs of the business side of there. In terms of my sales team, I have a sales staff now that'll be 8 sales reps and 3 account executives here really soon. So I oversee that. So I oversee the logistics of ticket inventory management. I oversee the partnership with our liaisons to make sure we have everything we need to be successful. And then I oversee the training, development, and hiring of our staff here. That's now going to be, like I said, it'll be 3 account executives and 8 sales reps here really soon. Backstory on myself, I've always had a passion for sports. And I always thought, playing professional baseball for the Cleveland Indians was kind of my lifelong goal since I was from Canton, Ohio. And I grew up just a diehard Cleveland fan. Found out pretty quickly that I probably wasn't going to reach those goals. At some point, I was an average athlete, but you just kind of know when the deck's not in your favor. So as I was going kind of through my career and was finishing up my bachelor's degree, I got a business degree at the University of Northern Iowa in marketing. So I just had a general business degree, but I always knew I kind of wanted to work in sports. And when I found out that there was kind of a sports marketing internship at the University of Northern Iowa, I was like, cool, that sounds perfect for me. I got to do internships, so why not? So that's how I started. I started as just a marketing internship. Your basic, activation of your promotions on game day, your basic, street teams running around campus, trying to get people to come to games, working with the student section to, see how we can better, get on campus, things like that. So the ins and outs are pretty much just a basic marketing and internship. From there, what I did was I kind of tried to, go above and beyond and make some really good connections within the athletic department. And that's what led me to more of the sponsorship side with Panther Sports Properties. So after my internship, I became a partnership coordinator with Panther Sports Properties at the University of Northern Iowa, which actually was still part-time. It actually was a job though, and I got paid. So if you're able to get a position where you're not only getting sports experience and you're going to get paid, it's beneficial. Not a lot of times you're going to get that, especially in the internship. So just be prepared for that. But from there, I did some really good things there. I learned a lot on the business side in the back end in terms of sponsorship activation, how to write scripts, how to write an actual a game day script. Pretty much did a lot of the same stuff when you're going to activate, sponsorship elements and things like that. But I, was able to go on sales calls. I was able to kind of do the ins and outs of proposal builds and fulfillment summaries and things like that. But through that, I knew the biggest thing that I was going to need to become an account executive or to kind of go down the sponsorship route, if that was where I wanted to go, which is kind of what I was leaning towards. I needed sales experience, and that's where ticket sales kind of came into play. There's a lot of, entry-level ticket sales experience jobs where you can really build your craft. You can really be successful and grow within the sports world. And if you look at the track record of a lot of individuals, they probably have something to do with ticket sales at some point within their sports career in a lot of ways. So from there, that's when I made my way with the Aspire Group and the University of Kansas. It was a new property there. I was a service retention consultant. So through that, I was promoted to a senior service retention consultant and then a team leader of ticket sales and service at the University of Kansas. Main responsibilities there was really, I was in charge of new revenue generation. I was responsible for that. I was responsible for all Olympic sports from football all the way down to women's volleyball. And then also I was responsible for kind of being part of the development arm and development team there as well. So your athletic scholarships and things like that, I was able to kind of build and gain a wealth of knowledge in that realm too, through that experience. So kind of wore a lot of hats there, but because we were kind of overseeing every piece of the puzzle at the University of Kansas, I kind of tried to set myself up for success and learn more about every aspect of the business that I could. So when there was, since we're working with development, I tried to go above and beyond and learn more there. The ticket sales world, tried to learn as much as I can there, especially on the operations piece or fulfillment and things like that. But through that, that's when I came back to, it was actually IMG Learfield before our actual merger, but I came back to Learfield IMG College now on the ticket solution side. We began a partnership with Western Kentucky in June of 2017, and I was hired as a GM there to take over that partnership and pretty much run the ship there. I was now in charge of the success and creating sales campaigns, creating everything that my director was doing at Kansas. But now, not only that, but I was also in charge of selling. So was able to initiate a lot of different things and implement a lot of new ideas with the Western Kentucky University. We brought a Seats for Soldiers campaign with the company and activated that. We grew group ticket sales for football by 10% from the year before in my first year, which was really great. We continued to grow season ticket sales, even though the football team had a couple down years. And before I left and was promoted here, we ended up having our largest and first ever complete sellout of season ticket inventory for basketball. So I was able to kind of hang my hat on that one before we left. But so been in sports, mainly ticket sales now for 6.5 years, working on 7, and kind of been able to dive into a lot of different unique experiences within the industry. And a lot of my experience is ticket sales background, but I feel there's a lot of things that you can kind of parlay that or really touch on to kind of navigate it or shape it to whatever career field I would want to go from here in a way. And that's kind of what I explained to my guys as well. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
And so you're overseeing ticketing at the NCAA now, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. So does that entail from the NCAA? Like I can imagine you got into it at the school level, but the NCAA, are you selling for the different events that they have?
Yep. Yeah. So we sell for 7 championships across the United States each year. So based on our contract and based on how we have everything set up with our partnership, we have normally a 38 week time period where we're actually actively working on our outbound sales campaigns. Year over year, annually, the NCAA is always actively selling, and we're promoting, our ticket sales campaigns. But where I come in with our partnership, at a certain point in the year and a certain point in the sales campaign, we begin our outbound sales efforts. So usually for a case like volleyball, for example, we've been selling volleyball tickets for the 2020 women's volleyball champion or 2019 volleyball championship in Pittsburgh since December of 2018 with the volleyball championship back in Minnesota. So we went on sale at the event. We did a pre-sale earlier in the year, and now we're at the point where our outbound ticket sales efforts have come as well. So it kind of goes in phases. You really try to get past purchasers and previous buyers to buy in, and kind of you're going with your marketing campaigns, which are usually email marketing. And then once we get to a certain point where this is X amount of inventory left, then we open it up, and that's where my team kind of takes over. We actually focus more on we focus both on all session ticket sales for that, but then we'll also focus on the group sales tickets aspects of that as well. So we do that for mostly all 7 championships. So volleyball, women's Final Four, Frozen Four, men's basketball. We'll have 4 regions this year we'll sell. Women's College World Series, we do a renewal campaign. Men's College World Series, we do a brief, month-long project there. And then our biggest one that we sell for is the men's lacrosse championship. So that's the biggest one we'll actually sell for.
So lacrosse, like not basketball, lacrosse is the biggest?
For us and like our company as a partner, that's where we generate the most revenue compared to our sales. Because when it comes to men's basketball, the NCAA can send an email and they have a database that's pretty wealthy. And in terms of wealthy, I mean, there's a lot of people that are in the database. And with that first email that they'll send, you could expect 25 to 50% of their tickets for whatever tournament it is going to be sold. And then a month or 2 later, we send another email, probably another 20% of the tickets are probably sold. So when we get to actually start our sales campaign, is usually around November timeframe, and we'll sell all the way up to March. So our goal is to sell the remaining inventory that has been bought. And usually there's some venues that sell better and there's some that don't. So, it kind of case by case. But our goal is to sell that before we actually know the teams that are going to be in place. So let's say from November to March, we have 10,000 tickets still available in an arena. If we could sell all 10,000 before, that we actually know who's actually be playing after March Madness, or playing after Selection Sunday, I should say, then that's goal. But realistically, we want to do as best as we can. So let's say we can sell 5,000 tickets. We're pretty confident that the next 5,000 are going to sell after Selection Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's kind of how the nature of, and what makes us unique is not only venue specific, we change venues year over year, but also to just kind of making sure that my timelines and everything are in place so that we can be as effective as we can as a business, not only as a good partner with the NCAA, but also as a business because obviously we want to make sure we're taking care of both sides as well.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm going to open it up to these guys here in a little bit. I just got a couple more questions. Kind of walk me through or take me through a day in the life of one of your reps and what they do.
So a day in the life of my rep, that's where we're unique. And, this is kind of a starting point, especially within the company. So as you have tested to a couple of your fellow students, I think Blake Cardinal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Blake now works for the Colts, but he started here as a sales rep. Riley's a senior AE at University of Tennessee. She's crushing it. And then Grant Franklin is also, I think he's now an AE. I don't know his exact title, but I know he works and he's down in with IMG Academy helping to sell different packages and with the hotels down there as well. So a lot of success coming from Trine. So hopefully we can continue that. But really a day in the life with our AEs and our sales rep here. I kind of help them and give the basic foundation of, how to really template and set out your day. But I kind of lean on my sales reps and AEs to, really be customizable and have the flexibility and to tailor their days to what they feel best works for them. But really, I mean, it's 80 to 100 calls a day. We're usually calling different lead lists that we have from the NCAA in terms of past buyers. Or it may be, actually self-prospected information and contacts and leads that we did for, various groups that maybe we were going to target as well. So for women's basketball, we're going to contact and target every youth basketball team, both boys and girls, within the greater Louisiana, New Orleans community, to bring them out and hopefully sell them, different group experiences and things like that. There's some reporting elements that goes into that as well. And then there's also different elements when it comes to, the self-prospecting, things like that. So if I had to structure someone's day, usually it's you'll have probably an hour call block. You'll follow up emails, kind of take a little refresher. You'll have another hour call block. Same thing, follow up on emails, things like that. And then beginning and ending the day usually is when you're looking at more of your self-prospecting methods and efforts to kind of make sure that you're continuing to fill your pipeline and things like that. But we really keep it fun and lighthearted here, because I myself started in the same role, so I know the grind that we do have, especially when we're calling day in and day out. And we don't have the luxury of having the venues we're selling, or a football stadium or basketball stadium just kind of walk out to and just like throw the football around, or just soak it all in. So we kind of make it fun. So I'll create sales contests. I'll create we'll do certain power hours that kind of really grind for maybe an hour, and then we'll take a 30-40 minute break or something and just chill or do whatever. So we kind of keep it lighthearted that way as well. But for the most part, that's really the structure of the day and what we sign up here for the sales center. But the end goal is to, okay, you're going to put on your resume, I made, and you guys might be shocked by some of this, so don't, but this could happen. I put down in a 6-month period, I made 14,000 calls, a 6-month period. I sold X amount of revenue. And then I also, I completed my women's Final Four goal and hit 120% to goal. So you put that on your resume and you look at it and you give that to anyone that you're trying to apply with, and they're going to be like, you made how many calls? Like, how'd that do? What would you do? So like, that's really the big foundation there. So, and I mean, that's kind of the nature of, what we do in a lot of ways, but, we do have some people who've been here, or I have 2 account executives who's been here for a little bit longer. So, I lean on them a little bit more in terms of maybe some reporting things and analytics, but, that's kind of the more of the day-to-day and a long-winded answer.
Okay. My last question before I open it up to everybody else. Talk to me kind of the progression. You talk about like Grant and Riley, how it works with Learfield IMG, how maybe you could start off as an AE and then have the opportunity to move on.
Yeah. So especially here at the sales center, one thing that's I think is, in a way, it's like if you look at any inside sales program, or if you look at us here at the sales center, there's really honestly a ceiling and a plateau that you're really going to hit, especially here. Not internally, not specifically in terms of growth and development, but in terms of maybe financial rewards, and also just in terms of the timeline when it comes to our sales campaigns. So our goal and my goal here is to, whenever I hire any sales reps, my goal, unless I have an AE position open here, my goal is to see what those next steps are. So we kind of really outline those from day one. And we do that a lot within the company. If you're a sales rep and you're hired on, let's say at the University of South Carolina, we're really outlining and wanting to really realistically figure out, okay, what are the next steps? How do we get you to become an AE? How do we then get you to become a senior AE? And then how do we get you to become a sales manager? If those are your aspirations. So we really outline and we put those plans in place. And I work with my team and, a lot of my one-on-ones that I have with my team to really know and focus and understand, where they're looking to go. Okay, is it, you're trying to work in pro sports? Do you see yourself within the company in the long-term realm? Okay, awesome. We have 40 plus partners across the United States. You can kind of really go wherever you want. You just have to write your own ticket. And here's what we can do to help you do that. So I think with Grant and Riley specifically, or even Blake in a lot of ways, Blake had real big aspirations to get into the NFL. And Cameron, who was my GM, or the GM before I took over, he helped him through contacts here within Indianapolis to move him there from Blake's successes here and really growing from a sales rep to become an AE. Same with Riley. She had aspirations to become an account executive within the company. She started as a sales rep. She came in and crushed it. She bought into the culture. She bought into the grind and what the position was, and really learned and growed here at the sales center. And it was kind of a no-brainer. I think she was promoted within like 4 months. We had an opening at the University of Tennessee, and she applied And, you know, our GM got her in contact with the GM there, and it was just a no-brainer for her to move on to Tennessee, and she's crushing it and loving it down there too. So that's really kind of how it works in a lot of ways. I mean, it's really, you get out what you put into it. And, you know, it just because you're with Learfield IMG College Ticket Solutions, and we're hiring you on as a sales rep, and you're building your career, you know, I want to, you know, try to create your career path to mold it to wherever you want to go. I mean, we have such a wealth of avenues here within the company, not only in the ticket solution side, but I mean, if you have aspirations to get into the multimedia sponsorship world, I mean, a lot of times those individuals you'll see who have those jobs were promoted within in some capacity. So this is a great step to get in those doors a lot of ways as well.
Very good. Very good. So I'll open it up to ladies and gentlemen. What question you have? Andy, shoot.
So just kind of like piggyback off of what you were just kind of saying about, you know, starting off as an account executive. What are some, I'm sure you have good stories like Riley, and probably have some bad stories. What are some of the things that you're looking for, or you seeing people that succeed in like their first 30, 60, 90 days? And what are some things that you're kind of realizing, all right, they're probably not going to be a great fit?
I feel like the only way someone's not a great fit for me is if they just don't want to do ticket sales, which is totally fine. I mean, you're going to learn that within probably easily the first week or two, within even the month. So that's probably the biggest thing that wouldn't be a fit for me. Because in my mind and how I look at it is every person on my team is different. They're motivated by different things. They have different things that they enjoy in life. They have different aspects or different, you know, career paths or upbringings, all these different things. No, not one person's the same. So I try to mold my leadership style around, you know, how we can work together, and in certain cases, how I can really get through to them in terms of what we want and how we need to be successful. For me, what I'm really looking for, especially in these roles, especially starting out in terms of sales reps, I really want people who are motivated. I really want people who are definitely hungry and really want to try to grow their career in sports. I think those are some of the really big things that I highlight and look at. A competitive attitude and nature is really great as well, because I'm very competitive and I like to have a competitive culture within the office but it's also team oriented. So that's where, you know, we're competing against each other every day and we're wanting to outsell each other every day, or, you know, one up each other every day, but we're doing it as a team and we're having fun with it. So I think those are some of the really big things that I look at and want when I'm hiring. And then also too, I think the things that make you really successful in this role, in where I started as a service retention consultant or whatever, is just not being satisfied with the minimum. And I think no matter what career path you go down, when you first start out, one, definitely find and establish maybe the work-life balance in a way. That's very important, and the longer you get in your career, that's going to be even more important. But then two, I mean, really figure out ways and how you can continue to go above and beyond. Like our daily call minimum is 80 calls a day. But I mean, if you structure that out, that's 10 calls an hour. If you leave, let's just say 60 voicemails, and you only talk to 20 people, I mean, you have maybe, you really look at it 4 hours in the day where you could be, what are you kind of doing in a way? And I know that as a manager, and I try to figure out ways that, you know, maybe we have hours where we're more productive than others, but then also too, you know, if it is, okay, we're making 80 calls a day with no sweat, how do we go above and beyond that? Because here, especially at the sales center, we can't meet individuals face to face. We don't have those opportunities as much. We're not able to, like I said, go to young professional events or networking events or things like that to go and meet maybe some business and influential business members in the communities that we're selling for. So, you know, we really rely on the smile and dial approach and really trying to connect with as many people as I can. So for me here, I think the one thing that really makes you more successful than others, I think Riley and my AE, I have now Jacob, Blake, I mean, they were willing to go above and beyond the 100 calls a day. And I mean, they were able to, and from that, I mean, they reaped the rewards in terms of winning sales contests here to make some, you know, financial gain there. But then also they were setting themselves up within the company to being noticed by everyone, by our leadership teams and things like that. So I think those are some of the big things that really, in terms of, you know, what drives success in that first 30, 60 days. And then from there, it's just diving into being a sponge and learning, you know, the best practices and and taking some of the, recommendations or some of the training and, molding it into your own style and just continuing to get better. I think that's the big things.
Well, yeah.
So you speaking on training, what is kind of the training like starting off as an account executive?
Yeah. So whether it's account executive, GM, sales manager, AGM, whatever the case may be, we have what's called our MVP best practices and training. So initially when I actually just hired 2 new sales reps, and they're going to start October 14th. So what we're going to do is, the first day, we're going to get to know the staff. We're going to make sure their credentials are good. And we're going to make sure their computers are set up, things like that. But when it comes to our training, we're going to go through MVP best practices. And what that is there's a portion of the book of the template that we talk about, the company, we talk about the culture, we talk about expectations, and we just kind of go about the ins and outs of, what we're going to do in terms of this career path. Next, it goes into, we start from kind of basic square one. A lot of what we do here at the sales center is voicemails. So and you'll see the statistics in a lot of ways, and this is a sales statistic, 80 to 85% of the days and calls you make are going to lead and be voicemails. So we're really going to train on voicemails. We're going to learn how to build a script that's tailored to voicemail to hopefully, entice someone to call you back. We're going to learn about, really honestly, it sounds kind of in a way dumb, but how do you really sound on a voicemail? Is there energy? Is there tone, tempo, and inflection? Is it a fun voicemail that someone's going to listen to? Because you ultimately want them to call you back. So what's that approach like? And then we go into kind of the 3 phases of the live answer call flow. So that's actually when you actually talk with a buyer. And then the other one is when you actually talk with a gatekeeper. So how do you get past the gatekeeper? How do you communicate with a potential buyer and work through that? So we really dive into and go from start to finish in terms of what that sales process looks like. It's not really rocket science, but there's a certain art to it. And how do we do that? How do we get through? How do we ask the right open-ended questions so that we're moving everyone down the line, and ultimately we're getting to the end goal, which is going to be a sale and hopefully future outings and referrals and things like that. Then we'll train once that portion's done and we're good there. We'll train on the group sales process, which there's some ins and outs that goes into that in terms of step 1, getting to know the prospect. Step 2, understanding the size and scope. Step 3, learning about learning about past experiences and so on. And then the next step within the MVP training that we'll go through is, B2B campaigns and also B2B sales. So it's usually a week-long process there. It consists of, how do we build scripts? How do we make sure we're set up for success? And then we'll do role plays to, really build that confidence and instill everything so that when we actually make our first live call and it sounds like crap, because don't get me wrong, when I started, they sounded like crap too. I was really nervous and everything. And they don't always sound like crap, but whenever there's different things that, kind of come up or we're nervous or things like that, we're going to build that confidence on the front end to really make it as realistic as possible so that whenever we make that first call and I call anyone, on my lead list, it's as fluid and easygoing process as well. And that's the best thing I think with our company as well is we go through that week-long training process, but the training doesn't stop there because I'm daily and weekly and bi-weekly, in our one-on-ones, I'm continuing to help develop and train each of my guys and girls the best I can. So if I hear something on a call, like, hey, you used a closed-ended question, let's try to use an open-ended question. Or, hey, you said this and how do we change that into an open-ended question? Or, hey, what were they talking about whenever I heard you say this? We'll talk about that after the call because we can take experiences we learned, whether good or bad, from that one call. And if we can continue to emulate that and maybe learn from those experiences, it's just going to make us continue to be better. So if we don't do that and we're not continually training or trying to get better, then we're going to be stagnant and we'll probably never improve. So those are things that we dive into as well. We have bi-weekly as well dedicated training sessions that we'll just break off the phones and we'll actually dive into best practices within the industry or maybe trends. And then one thing us as a company we've done, we've actually taken all of our MVP training. So a lot of what we would talk about in the first week and then throughout the year, we've put it into a game called One Huddle. So it's a game that you can play on your phone. It's a game that you can play on your desktop or whatever, but literally you play it. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes to play. It's a multiple choice game. You play the game, you score really high. And as a company, at the end of the month, we rank everyone's scores. And then at the end of the month, the highest score gets a bonus. The top 3 scores, the top 3 scores get a bonus. So for playing a game and actually training, you get a bonus for that as well. So we do that a lot as well within the company. So those are it's kind of just constant, but that's really the basic of and the foundation where that starts.
All right. What's kind of I did an internship at the University of Toledo, and they don't really outsource the ticketing department. They have their own. What's kind of relation, like when you make that partnership with the university, what's kind of the relationship like professionally, culturally, when you first kind of like go in there?
Wait, so Toledo doesn't have a ticket sales department anymore?
No, they do, but it's not like
okay.
Outsourced like Learfield.
Oh, okay.
It's their own, and so like everyone.
Sorry, no. I used to work for the Aspire Group, and when I was with the Aspire Group, well, it would have been 2.5 years ago. I thought Aspire was with him, but sometimes we win partnerships, and then sometimes they go in house. They think they can do it without our help anymore, which is fine. That's kind of the nature of our world as a third party ticket outsource. But to answer your question, what's that relationship like right away? It's really, and that's where I experienced that a little bit more at Western Kentucky, because it's really on the GM to really foster, build, grow, and maintain that relationship with administrators, your athletic directors, and things like that. At first, I would say that it's not hostile, but I mean, you are a third party, and in some ways, initially, maybe not your liaisons or the individuals who are signing off on the partnership and wanting to bring you on as a partner. Maybe they're not as hesitant to accept you or bring you on, but within the athletic department, within the ticket sales operations, and maybe some other departments, there is some hesitation. And maybe there is some, okay, who are these guys? They're just sales guys. But it's really on you as a GM and on you as a team to, really buy in and dive into their culture and live their brand. There wasn't a day where I worked at KU or Western Kentucky where I wasn't, rock chalk chanting or, go Hilltoppers any day of the week. I bought into that, and that's why I was there. I mean, I was there to help make an impact, and I was there to help grow ticket revenues, because that's what I enjoyed doing. And there was a lot of different things I wanted to try to implement and things. So it's really slow in terms of, jumping in and getting some wins right off the bat, but you kind of have to take a step back and look at it and really look at the baby steps that you can really grow, and the small wins you can succeed with. And then from there, just continue to build on that momentum and earn that trust. So when you're selling to anyone a ticket at any capacity, or you're selling anything, you could be selling shoes to someone at Dick's Sporting Goods. It doesn't matter where it's at. If you're going to sell something to someone, you're never going to sell to someone if you don't, in some aspect or another, have their trust. Just like you're really not going to win those battles, and you're really not going to be accepted fully within maybe the athletic department unless you have their trust. And that's really what you're really there to do in a lot of ways, is to do that and to build that relationship, and then continue to grow and cultivate it. So, my approach was, I am no expert here. I know how to sell tickets, and I know maybe how, these sales campaigns work. I know how to put together a sales timeline. I know how to do all these different things, but I don't know how to run Ticketmaster or ARCS. I don't know anything about Western Kentucky. I don't know how your development system works. I have zero idea what your marketing plan is or what your budgets look like. So my approach was to get to know each and every person individually, one, as a person, both personal and professionally, but then also two, really just use them as a resource and use them to their expertise. It's like, look, I'm going to be here to help you sell tickets and do these things, and here's what I would love to work together and provide these synergies, but I need to know, I guess, how you work and things like that. So that's really the biggest thing, is really building that relationship. And I think going in there, not as like a dictator saying like, I know everything, but leaning on them for their experience and just really just trying to plug and play in there as well with what they know.
it's good advice for when you start your jobs to, figure out the culture instead of just going in and being like, all right, we're doing this. It's good advice. You've been here for about 30 minutes, so I want to make sure we'll kind of start to wrap it up because we appreciate your time. I know you've got other things you got to do, but what is it you're looking for? We've got some seniors in the room now. For those seniors who are going to be graduating, what type of experiences do they need to get, or even our underclassmen, what do they need to have while they're here in school? Our experiences, internships, or what are you just looking for when you've got a resume in front of you? What's going to stand out?
Definitely something that stands out to me. I mean, if you have any ticket sales experience, or if you've worked in a ticket office, or you have some in a basic foundation of just cold calling in a way, in some capacity maybe. I mean, that stands out. I like that, but sometimes I don't look for that really, because then maybe there's some bad habits that you're not willing to give up, and it's just more difficult for me to kind of work with you or to change some of those. But in either way, I'm not going to say either way I'm going to discredit it. I'm really just looking for the best candidates. But I think some of the biggest things that I'm looking for, if I just look at a resume, is what have you done? Did you go to university and just collect a piece of paper? What else did you do? I mean, if there's really nothing else in your resume other than, yep, I did this and I played sports and I played our rec league or whatever. I mean, like what else have you done? So like, how active were you within and how often did you take advantage of the opportunities, at your university? So, I mean, any internships you can do, whether it's paid or unpaid, obviously preferably paid because then you're making money, but paid or unpaid, I would definitely look into that. And really to, if you're, let's say, I mean, is everyone a sports management major, I'm assuming? Pretty close?
Yeah, in this room, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're a sports management major, I mean, there's so many different areas you could look to, take your career. Now, if you tell me that you want your end goal and what you want to do and work, it really is to work in marketing or sports marketing, probably not going to hire you because you're not going to want to sell. I'll just be honest, just because we're 100% sales. You're really not, especially here at the sales center, you're not really going to be able to fine tune or harness your marketing like niche. You're like, I mean, you're the bug that, continues to, that why you wanted to go towards marketing or advertising. That's not what we do. We're 100% sales. Especially here at the sales center. So I would say take advantage of the opportunities. If you feel that, you want to go and dive into sports marketing and things like that, you should definitely be doing a sports marketing internship. And I would say even more so, you should probably figure out, if you do have a sponsorship arm or someone who works in that realm, trying to figure out the ins and outs of what they do as well, just on a bigger level. If you want to be in facilities or do anything like that, I mean, there's sports facilities and I know individuals who have made a career out of sports facilities and things like that. So, doing an internship with them. If for someday you have aspirations and you really want to become an athletic director, I don't know many athletic directors within most university realms. They're usually pretty busy, but sometimes they'll carve time out of their day for you to go and talk with them or learn a little bit more about them. So yeah, I mean, that's really the big thing, is what experiences and what, can you do in your time at school to really, set yourself apart. Because you got to realize that, and even so, I'll just narrow it to the sports world. You seniors who are graduating, let's say there's 5 of you. Well, you're one university out of X amount in the United States, and there's 5 more, graduating as well, hungry to get into sports. So what sets you apart from the 200 resumes that are going to come across my desk? What's going to set you apart for that? Because realistically, there's no way I'm going to be able to do 200 interviews. So I'm going to look at certain things on a resume in terms of experiences, in terms of, where you were and, what you were doing. That's really going to step off the page to me and show me that, this is someone worth talking to, and definitely I want to engage with.
Very good. Anything? Any last questions? All right. Well, Zach, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. And, I'll share with them kind of what we talked about through email, that if you've got some seniors who are graduating or just might want to reach out and kind of pick your brain for 5 or 10 minutes, I'll kind of share your contact information with them. But again, appreciate it, and thanks, and good luck with your sales going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. One other thing I was going to say, I'm going to send you all as well, just like it's kind of more of an info sheet about the company and kind of what we do. It'll have my contact information on there as well. So if you guys ever have any questions, feel free, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know. More than happy to help. I would also say too, back to kind of what else you can do. I mean, if you ever have let's say, you know, you have aspirations to work with the Pacers, the Colts, the Indianapolis Indians, or any team or whatever the case may be. If you use LinkedIn as a resource and you find someone's like, hey, this looks like an important person, or hey, this is an account executive there. I mean, kind of step out of your box a little bit. If you're in the Indianapolis area, like, hey, I'm going to be there. Would you be willing to grab a cup of coffee or meet me for lunch? I'd love to just, you know, figure out how you got to start in your career. I mean, that's going to go a long way, and it's going to really put your name out there in a beneficial way that's going to set you apart from others as well. And I tell you what, the sports world is really about networking, connecting, and, you know, my next job, whenever that is or wherever that is most likely probably more going to come from me applying, obviously, because you have to do that. But really, I'm going to be reaching out to whoever is a contact of mine that can help get my foot in the door there as well. So that's really beneficial. I feel like, especially in the sports world, to really, you know, get your resumes to the top of the list.
Great advice. Sounds like